All right, welcome back to the channel. Those of you who stuck along for the ride this far, appreciate it. Getting a little bit more technical today. We're going to cover a few things that I've learned along the way in just the first several months of working on this system. Going to cover a wide range of topics, get into each of those in just a moment. Now, I will go ahead and preface everything with a little bit of a nerd alert, okay? My technical degree is in computer science, so I tend to look at things with a certain bias. You'll probably pick up on that a little bit later. My master's degree is in technology commercialization. All that means is tend to work a process for taking an idea off a cocktail napkin and making it a reality. I just have a bias to try and figure things out and make sure I've got something created that works and people can be happy with and satisfied with. So that being said, again, we're going to cover a wide range of topics on this, so let's get on with it. Okay, a few basics real quick on temperature. Direct side, 200 to 700 degrees. It'll do the 700 degrees in 10 minutes. Also, you'll be able to get a great wood-kissed sear on any steaks, burgers, or hot dogs that you put in there, okay? I tend to lean on that quite a bit, and it works out pretty nice. Indirect side starts off at 180 degrees for low smoking certain things, and then that'll also get up to 700 degrees, but in 30 minutes. With respect to the smoke box, no active heating, you get most of your heat coming out of the exhaust from the indirect side. So if you're going to be doing anything in there, you're either going to have to cold smoke with a smoke tube, or you're going to have to depend on the smoke coming off the indirect side. Now, the temperatures in that area, basically on the top rack, you're going to get 50 degrees less than whatever you have going on the indirect side. Subtract another 10 degrees, go down 60 degrees. For the mid rack, go another 10 degrees down for the bottom rack. And that's what you tend to end up with. So what that means is, with a low of 180 on the indirect side, you have 130 on the top rack, 120 on the mid rack, and 110 on the bottom rack, okay? And so that gives you a range to work with. If you're gonna go any lower than that, you're probably gonna need to turn off the indirect and go with a smoke tube inside the smoke box in order to get, some true cold smoke activities going on in there, okay? Now, the other side of that is you could also do the cold smoke with a smoke tube in the indirect side. However, the small volume in the smoke box, I believe, gives you a more concentrated smoke flavor. So keep that in mind. The Dual Fires comes equipped with two different ways of sensing temperature. There's the RTD that is used by the controller to manage the overall cook, but then there's the instant read thermometers that you have for measuring the temperature in your food. Now, these things are different. The RTD basically uses a rolling average and gives you an idea of what the overall average temperature is during the cook. The instant read gives you an instant sense of what the temperature is, and it's not as smooth or averaged out. So if you mount one of those instant read thermometers into the grill, you'll see what your fluctuation temperatures really are. All right, yeah, you can overwrite the auger speed on the fly. Tech support considers it risky. That's why they have it with a lock button right there. And what you end up doing is you open that up, that's saying, hey, I'm doing this at my own risk. You can then go down and you can either adjust the temperature calibration or you can change the speed of the auger right there. Now in this instance, if you do change the speed of the auger, then what you are going to be impacting is how the controller manages the temp. Now you need to note that this auger speed is a percentage delta up or down on the PNID's base value speed, okay? This impacts both the period and the frequency in addition to the amplitude. Now this is the same as going through the controller interface on the panel itself. Okay, a couple of quick learnings on the drip tray. If you're going to line it with the Teflon liner, you can't heat that over 375. I burned mine up on the pizza cook. With respect to lining the drip tray with foil, 650 is the limit. So if you plan on doing high temp cooks at 700 or above, then you're going to need to do nothing. Just leave it empty. Okay, let's talk about cleaning those grates. That little pod that you use in your dishwasher does a phenomenal job of loosening all the grime, grease, and everything that is baked on to your drip pan, to your grates, everything else. So all you really want to do is fill up a tub of water, put 1 or 2 pods in there if you're doing the big stuff, and then let the pod do the work for you in terms of loosening everything up. As you can see here, I was doing the smokebox components, and the drip tray basically everything got loosened up, and in whack one, it was pretty clean. Same thing with the grates. I was able to use just a simple sponge and knock a lot of that off. Now, if you got things that are a little bit more baked on, yeah, you can use basically a steel wool or something along those lines to get the job done. Now, if you're wanting to really take care of your stainless steel, there's a product called Cameo. Now, Cameo will help get off a number of different things. It'll help, it's a mild abrasive. It'll help you knock out some of the hard baked on stains that are on your stainless steel. But for your exterior finish on the grill, the Cameo product will actually help wipe away, if you will, some of those marks that come from the smoke that's coming out of the grill and kind of staining the sides and the exterior of it. Works well. Highly recommend it. Okay, getting back on the smoke box, those temperature ranges and everything kind of bothered me, and I got in my head that what was really needed was convection. So I picked up this small fan that's used on basically a heater, a space heater. You set it on top and the heat drives it, right? And I ended up, disassembling that, and I built a little controller to basically manage the speed, and that worked well, So the fan, you could take the temperature. It was just a matter of, seeing if this, approach was going to work. Mounted it into the smoke box using some magnets up on the ceiling, and sure enough, the fan drove, did what I was looking for it to do. Used an Arduino platform to write the controls for that, and yeah, I got a little geeky and nerdy on there. But as you can see on there, the temperature's stabilized all the way up and down. So convection can work in this. Okay, now the things that are out there are just a little bit pricey, so I'm seeing if I can't figure out a do-it-yourself. Now the lessons that I learned, it works. I need multiple layers because if I have anything on the top, it gets blocked. The smoke daddy that's out there may be the answer, and it does mean that my ratios on the indirect to the smoke box side are changed. Now, I went with a dumbed down approach as well. Basically took a drip pan, cut it out, saw if I could, get some ducting in place. It sort of worked, but not completely. But what I will point out is the temperature swings on the low rack, very low compared to the temperature swings on the upper rack. That's to be expected. So picked up another few tidbits there as well. Okay, to gasket or not to gasket? On the direct side, basically, you don't need to go with a gasket. I put a gasket in place up front, had some problems, talked to RecTeq. They said, hey, it needs the airflow. You just got to remove that. So I did. Everything worked out beautiful since then. However, on the indirect side, I left that one in place. It's a larger volume, so it's not as pressure sensitive from that fan blowing everything in, and it seems to work out fairly well. Stand broil high temp is what I would recommend. It's got 1100 degree max rating on it, and that works pretty good. Also, that gasket I think helps with avoiding drippage and everything, getting outside of the coming down off that wall and getting onto the exterior of the grill. Just trying to keep things a little bit cleaner there, if you will. Now, if you move over to the smoke box, on this end I used high temp silicone foam strips, and that was just to keep more of the smoke in, and that seemed to work out pretty well. That's kind of a 1/8 size or 1/8 thickness, and that did good. Now, with respect to the app, let's talk about a few things here. Basics are very well supported. I like what's in place, and so are some of the advanced features, like what we talked about in terms of the PID tuning. So that's a good thing without a doubt. Now that said, okay, there are a few things that could use some help. And one of those is basically when you go into some of the auxiliary features, like being able to save a cook and the data there. Okay, it sets up and it saves everything okay. But one of the challenges that I found with this is that it's a little difficult to go back with the playback on that. And so when you try to go back and play back on the cook by selecting it there, it gets a little glitchy on you, like what you're seeing right there. Okay, so could use some help in there, but by and large, I like the app. It worked out, works out fairly well in general. Now, in terms of what I wish it had on top of that, in short, it shut down, doing a fan countdown like you have on the controller phase. Active probes, I like to see the temperature, longer, just because I like to leave the probes in, after the cook. I'd like it to come up and default to the current cook instead of me having to select the current cook each time. Would be great to have a stopwatch feature for obvious reasons, and it show the plot and fan status as well. Ooh, what is that? That music? Oh yeah, it's Zen time.
Dad, you look goofy.
And yeah, do me a favor, like and subscribe and give me some comments. Truly appreciate it.